Hello, everyone. Today we're diving into a chilling and mysterious crime that unfolded on the high seas. A story centered on the fishing vessel Pet Kama and the horrifying events that took place aboard it in 1996. South Korea, a nation surrounded by sea on three sides with over 3,100 miles of coastline, has long lived by the saying, "Those near mountains eat from mountains. Those near water eat from water." Fishing has been a vital lifeline for the country, shaping a unique seafood-centric culture. But with such high demand for marine resources, something had to give. By the 1990s, relentless fishing and environmental changes had depleted South Korea's coastal waters. Fishing companies turned their sights to distant seas, venturing far offshore. These long-haul expeditions weren't easy. Ships became both workplace and home for crews who faced not only the ocean's brutal challenges, but also tests of human nature that most of us can't imagine. The rapid growth of offshore fishing created a massive labor shortage, and foreign workers flooded in to fill the gap. In 1996, one such vessel, the Pet Kama, set sail from South Korea for a remote fishing ground. No one could have predicted the nightmare that awaited. This is the story of the Pet Kama tragedy. The Pet Kama was a 164-foot long, 26-foot high fishing ship with a 254-ton capacity, built with 3 decks. The bottom for the engine and fish hold, the middle for the crew's living quarters and galley, and the top for the bridge, captain's quarters, and equipment storage. Though registered in Honduras, it was owned by a South Korean seafood company. In 1996, they recruited a crew for a 2-year tuna fishing mission in the Phoenix Islands, a remote area in the South Pacific between Australia and Hawaii. With an average depth of 13,000 feet, this region was teeming with fish, a gold mine back then, now the world's largest marine reserve. On June 10th, 1996, a Monday, the Pet Kama quietly departed Busan, South Korea, embarking on its ambitious journey. The plan was to cross the vast Pacific to the Phoenix Islands. To ensure the crew wouldn't abandon the trip midway, the company required each member to sign a contract and pay a deposit, refundable after 2 years, alongside a monthly wage far exceeding typical jobs. This lucrative offer drew a diverse crew of 24, 7 South Koreans, mostly in management roles, and 17 foreign workers. The Koreans included Captain Choi Ki-taek, First Mate Lee In-sik, Manager Kong In-ho, Cook Seo Kong-soo, Engineer Kim Jong-rae, and crewman Park Dong-sung and Shin Hyung-in. Choi Ki-taek, 33, was young but seasoned, commanding respect even from older sailors. Known for his fiery temper, he'd once severely injured an Indonesian crewman on a prior voyage, sparking attention from the Indonesian embassy. Though he escaped prosecution with an apology letter at the company's insistence, his reputation lingered. Yet here he was, captaining the Pet Kama. Kong In-ho, a towering ex-Marine sergeant at 6 feet and 286 pounds, was fiercely loyal to Choi and intimidating to the crew. Lee In-sik, 27, was the youngest Korean manager, milder and friendlier, though still wary of Choi and Kong. The foreign crew comprised 10 Indonesians and 7 Chinese workers from Tunghua, Jilin Province, China, Quan Tai-jin, Li Xiancheng, Bai Zhongfan, Choi Rikue, Choi Jinghao, Choi Wunfeng, and Pu Junnam. These Chinese men, ethnic Koreans, were farmers who'd scraped together 20,000 yuan, a hefty sum, for the deposit, dreaming of the 1,500 yuan monthly wage, far more than they'd earn back home. Most lacked seafaring experience or credentials, drawn by the promise of wealth despite the risks. Quan Tai-jin, 44, stood out as the only one with experience. Born to a poor farming family, he'd served in the military, then farmed and taught school, earning just 500 yuan monthly. 2 years earlier, a fishing stint earned him 50,000 yuan, enough to treat his sick mother. Now, eager to capitalize on his youth, he joined the Pet Kama, becoming the de facto leader of the Chinese group due to his age and experience. The ship first headed to Tinian Island in the Western Pacific near Saipan to pick up the Chinese crew. They'd flown from Beijing to Seoul, then Saipan, reaching Tinian by June 16th. With all 24 aboard, the Pet Kama set course for the Phoenix Islands. Quan, thanks to his experience, was named second mate, assisting Lee In-sik with navigation. The others weren't so fortunate. Seasickness hit hard the next morning, leaving them vomiting and weak. Yet Choi and Kong showed no mercy, launching training in knot tying for longline tuna fishing. It was less instruction, more trial by fire, with the Koreans barking orders and pacing behind them. These foreign workers, untrained and debilitated, struggled. Kong, displeased, shouted and kicked them, his massive frame silencing any protest. One day, he singled out Li Xiancheng, asking if he had kids. Li, thinking it a friendly chat, said his wife was pregnant. Kong smirked. "So where'd the kid come from?" Li replied, "From her belly, of course." Kong slapped his head, sneering, "Not your dog's ass?" Humiliation like this became routine. The crew assumed it was punishment for poor knots, swallowing their anger. They didn't realize the Koreans saw them as lesser, tools to be mocked and beaten into submission. Choi Won-fong, a cunning Chinese crewman, tried flattery, praising Choi and Kong to dodge abuse. It worked briefly, but by June 18th, Kang's violence escalated, punches to necks and backs, a rope lashed across by Zhong Fan's head. On June 19th, he whipped Norman, an Indonesian, in the face for a loose knot, swelling his eyes shut. Within 4 days, nearly every foreign worker had tasted Kang's fists, except Quan, spared for his skill and role. On June 20th, Chui Jinghao warned Quan. He'd overheard Kong plotting to beat him bloody. Quan, having seen the brutality, took it seriously, vowing caution. At noon, Kong summoned Quan to the hold, cursing and punching his face. Blood streamed from Quan's nose. Another blow followed as Kong taunted. "Thought I'd let you off easy?" Quan, wiping blood, apologized, enduring like the rest. The Koreans earned based on catch volume, not fixed pay, believing violence boosted efficiency. Indonesians, not understanding the insults, suffered less emotionally than the Chinese, who grasped every degrading word. By June 22nd, the abuse intensified. Kong beat by Zhong Fan from his scouting ropes, knocking him out. He vomited blood, but with no doctor aboard, his crewmates could only watch. Choi, deeming knot tying too slow, ordered the foreigners to kneel for 3 paddle whacks each. As they limped back to work, Kong hurled a bait bucket, bloodying Choi, Rikue, and an Indonesian. Desperate to reclaim deposits and wages, they endured silently. On June 26th, the Chinese hit their limit. Quan, hardened by a prior abusive trip, rallied them. Confronting Choi directly risked a beating, so they wrote a letter promising diligence if the violence stopped. Lee In-sik, the only Korean who hadn't struck them, was their conduit. Too scared to deliver it immediately, he waited for Choi's mood to soften. At 5 a.m. on June 27th, Kong roused the foreigners for longline fishing, miles of line with 2,500 baited hooks. As Choi and Kong prowled, Chui Jinghao's slow baiting earned 2 stick blows to the head, drawing blood. Choi pelted by Zhong Fan with fish, then kicked him down. Spotting Li Xiancheng glance over, Choi hurled fish at him, then chased him with an iron pipe, escalating from fists to weapons. "Why'd you stop? Planning a mutiny?" Choi roared, ordering them to kneel again. Li took the first pipe blow, dodging to his shoulder. Sensing lethal intent, he snapped, seizing the pipe and tackling Choi. Other Koreans grabbed knives and wood, but the Chinese rallied, arming themselves. Quan and Li rushed to mediate, begging Choi to let them leave, deposit be damned. Li shouted, "We wrote you. Stop beating us, and we'll work." Li admitted he hadn't delivered the letter. Facing mass desertion, Choi softened, "Work hard, and we'll stop." The Chinese relented. 20,000 yuan wasn't trivial. Violence paused for them, though Indonesians still suffered. Workload soared. Sleep dwindled to under 3 hours. Choi Won-fong's flattery earned him rest, but Quan, splitting shifts with Kong, got none. Kong drank while Quan slaved. One night, exhaustion nearly plunged Quan overboard. Li, punished with a spot near the freezer, shivered nightly. After a month, fearing death by fatigue, Quan faked a Bladderstone report on July 27th, demanding to disembark. 5 Chinese joined him, excluding Chui Wan-fong, who betrayed them for favor. Next day, Choi let an Indonesian, Lubis, leave after he threatened Choi with a knife. Quan overheard Choi whisper to another captain, "Dump that punk overboard." Shocked by Choi's ruthlessness, Quan urged escape. He confronted Choi, who stalled. 2 days later, Choi agreed, if they signed a voluntary exit waiver. Desperate, they did. Smirking, Choi revealed it was a confession. They'd attacked him, justifying their ejection. At Samoa, he jailed them, saddling them with fines and lost deposits. Over 100,000 yuan each, a lifetime's debt. Furious, they argued. 5 armed Koreans, Kong, Park, Seo, Kim, and Shin, ambushed them. Outmatched, the Chinese retreated, pleading with Lee, who refused to intervene. Quan offered Choi rare medicine, begging mercy. Choi tossed it overboard. Nearing Samoa, they drank in despair, cursing the Koreans. "They want us dead," one slurred. "Those bastards deserve to die." Words turned prophetic. On August 9th, 1996, at 0:30 a.m., the Pet Kama rendezvoused with the Dong-1 No. 2. A 19-year-old Korean intern, Choi Dong-ho, boarded with appendicitis, needing Samoa's hospital, 25 aboard now. At 1 a.m., Quan, on watch, hatched a plan. He lured Choi to the bridge with a fake message, where Lee, Chui Jinghao, and by stabbed him dead, dumping his body. Kong entered next. Axes felled him despite his fight. Quan spared Lee for his kindness and navigation skills, locking him in a galley. Park, Seo, Kim, and Shin followed, killed and discarded. By dawn, 6 Chinese, 9 Indonesians, Lee, Chui Wan-fong, and Choi Dong-ho remained. 3 Indonesians witnessed the slaughter and were subdued. Proposals to kill them split the group. Quan suggested they kill Choi Dong-ho to bind them as accomplices. They did, but distrust lingered. On August 10th at 7 a.m., Quan tricked Chui Wan-fong and the 3 Indonesians into the freezer, locking them in. At 0 degrees Celsius, due to a glitch, they begged release. 4 days later, Quan tossed them overboard, 11 dead total. The 6 Chinese seized control, aiming for Japan to flee justice. Lee, forced to steer, sabotaged communication gear. On August 20th, he saw them building rafts for 6. Fearing his death, he planned escape. On August 24th, near Minami-Terishima, Japan, fuel issues tilted the ship. Lee sent the Chinese to the hold, then locked them in with Indonesian help. Quan escaped, fighting alone, but was overpowered. Lee swam to a Japanese fishing boat, spilling everything. Japanese Coast Guard arrested the 6, extraditing them to South Korea. The Pet Kama returned to Busan, sparking outrage. Media branded the Chinese butchers, demanding death. In December 1996, Busan District Court sentenced all 6, Quan, Lee by Chui Rikue, Chui Jinghao, and Pu, to death for murder and corpse disposal. They appealed, Quan penning a 10,000-word petition detailing Korean abuse as their motive, unrepentant for sparing Lee. Ignored in South Korea, it surfaced in China's Liaoning press, stirring sympathy. Lawyer Moon Young-man, a Busan advocate for the underdog, took their case despite traitor backlash. In July 1997, Busan High Court heard his defense. Korean violence provoked the killings. Kwan's death sentence stood. The others got life. A final appeal failed. Under President Roh Moo-hyun, Kwan's execution was commuted to life. The 6 lived out their days in prison, a grim end to their desperate bid for freedom. The tragedy chilled South Korea's fishing industry, shifting labor to Vietnam and Laos. Yet violence persists, exposing a dark underbelly in offshore work. It's a stark lesson. Violence breeds suffering. Human rights matter, especially for the vulnerable, and silence before injustice fuels tragedy. We must act for fairness, lest stories like the Pet Kama repeat. That's our tale. See you next time. Goodbye.